Today we're going to have a little chat about batteries, and I've got a few here. And first thing I should say, like all good dads, is don't do this smoking business. So today we want the multimeter on the volts range, and I'm going to start off on the 2 volts range so that we can test these little things. Now, these AA batteries have a little knobble on there which is the positive, and the flat end is the negative. That's the bit that goes onto the spring. And we'll test the voltage, and we're getting 1.49, so 1.5 volts, which is quite reasonable. And the other one we're getting 1.5 volts again, which is reasonable. So we know those batteries are pretty good. That is a bit of a surprise because I thought they weren't, but there we go. Now, I've just taken that to bits, and we should find that the range, this is supposedly 12 volts, and so we'll put it on the 20 volt range. Doesn't really matter whether we go negative or positive. I'll bring that around there so you can see it. We're getting minus 13, okay? So that just means I've got it on the wrong connections. The red is the positive, the black is the negative, and when I put it on there, we're getting 13 volts, which we know is pretty reasonable because it does that, okay? Now, the last one, which is going to be a bit more of an issue, is this a big old car battery here. Now, this should be 12 volts. Fully charged, it should be 13.2 in fact, because it has 6 cells in it, and each cell is 1.2 volts. So 6 times 1.2 is 13.2. Now this is the one that's come off my car, and I put a new battery on the car because this was getting a bit weak. Now, the fact is that we put the red on the positive, the black on the negative, we're getting 10.24 volts. So that is low. Whether that's damage to the battery or whether it will come up in the fullness of time, we can't tell at this moment in time. However, I've got a ride-on lawnmower that I want to mend, and I need to be able. I need a spare battery for it, a big battery, so that I can jump start it. So I'm bringing out this little beast, which is a battery charger. It's not the best battery charger in the world, but that's okay, it should work. Now, we know this is a negative terminal because it's got a little minus here, a little minus here, and we also know that I just measured it. This one's a positive, it's got a little plus sign here, and of course I know that it goes that way on the multimeter. And now we'll put that on the black, because that's black and negative. We'll put the red one on the positive, and here's my plug, which is a UK plug obviously, and then we'll plug it in. Just check the settings. Got it on 12 volts, It's important that you check it because it also does 6 volts. Because it also does 6 volts, which is that side. 12 volts is that side. So we want to be charging at 12 volts. Press the plug in, and there we go. She's pulling around about 2 amps. Now that will probably go up a little bit in the fairly near future, but if not, 2 amps is a reasonably low charge rate, and that should sit there overnight quite happily, because the battery, if we look here, is 12 volt, 100 amp hour, 820 amps cranking. So that means it charges at up to 12, it will deliver 12 volts, it will hold 100 amp hours, which is a big battery, and it will deliver 820 amps for a starter, or whatever. That's a lot. It's a big battery, as I say. So it'll sit quite happily there now, charging away, until I pop back here tomorrow morning. When I say this is reasonable, 2 amps, well, it's 2.5 amps now, or thereabouts. 2.5 times 12 is 30. Is that right? 2.5, 24, 30, yeah. So that will give it, that means it's charging at 30, yeah, it's putting in 30 amp hours. No, it's putting in two and a half amp hours every hour it's on charge. So if I put it on charge for 12 hours, that will give me 30 amp hours in the charge. Now it's 5 p.m. tonight, I probably won't be here till around about lunchtime tomorrow, so we'll probably get 18 hours of charge into it, and we'll see whether it holds the charge or not. Meanwhile, I'll relight my mucky old cigarette, and in proper adult fashion I shall say to you, don't start smoking, it's a filthy habit, because we all know that it is, and it does damage. But there we go. I'm addicted to it, and maybe one day we'll make a video about how to give up smoking, which I've done several times, but at the moment you're not interested in any of that. We'll just see you in a little while. There isn't much I've just been in and played that video, and it seems I made a cock up of showing you the voltage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it again. Now I can't, what's it, let's see. So we're going up to 20 volts, and without putting my arm across the screen this time, we go on the black, we go on the red, and we're up to 12.43 now. If you remember, it was 10.24. So obviously it is beginning to take a significant amount of charge. It's now 6:30, it was 5 o'clock. Okay, so I'll put that back on charge, and with any luck everything points to our future happiness. Okay, thanks for bearing with my little problem here, eh? And as you'll see, hopefully the amp rate has dropped a little bit. Looks like about, I don't know, 1.6 volts, something like that. Oh, sorry, 1.6 amps, something like that. So let's have another look at this battery and see if it's held a charge at all. All I'm going to do now is just disconnect the positive for a moment and put the multimeter back on the 20 volts range. And there we go, 13.19. As we were saying yesterday, 13.2 is about all you can hope for from a battery, because its theoretical maximum is 13.2. Okay, well that's all looking very hopeful. There is one point that will drop back after a while. Something called a surface charge or something like that, which is only a temporary effect. It only lasts an hour or two at the beginning of the as soon as it's been charged. One thing that I would point out is that we can actually test the amps on our multimeter here at this point in time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this from voltage round to the amps here. Now this has got microamps on it, milliamps, 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 and a 10 amp range. Now we're running at 1.2 or 1.6 or thereabouts, so we're going to change it to the 10 amp range, because this is quite different. You have to put it in series, which means that you have to pull that red and put it into this slot here which says 10 amps max. Anything more than 10 amps will blow the meter, and if you try and do the amps on the voltage range, that also will blow the meter. Now, as I say, this has got to be in series, so we'll take the black one off. Since the current goes from up the red one, across the battery and down the black one, we shall now take the black as part of the series. So I'll click that on there, and you'll see the amps have dropped to 0 here. And when I touch this on, we'll see we've got 1.44 amps there, and that's come up as well to confirm that we're about 1.4 amps. I thought 1.6, I guessed it had earlier, but it's dropped back a little bit since then. That's all that it takes to measure your amps. Anyway, I shall do a full video on the multimeter and how to use it, and I'll put a link to that somewhere. Okay, that's it. We are assuming that the battery is pretty much charged now, and at some point in time I shall put a video up about this lawnmower, getting that going, and I'll also do one on the battery charger, how that works and all sorts of things like that. Now, there is one question I would like you to answer for me in the comments, if you don't mind. This is obviously an early one of my videos, and I'm learning along the same lines as you are. This is meant for beginners, probably young people, and I would like to know whether the information I'm giving you is too detailed or not detailed enough. If it's too detailed, I'll make them simpler. If it's not detailed enough, I'll make them more detailed. And if I get a combination of the two, I shall perhaps put up 2 videos, one detailed and one less detailed. So if you could give me that feedback in the comments, that'd be good. Okay, thank you very much.